Poinsettia, Chapter 2. The Lady Clementine sat on the bench of a nearby park. The year was 1820. It was a warm spring day. Clementine, dressed in a simple dress, watched as the townsfolk and their children danced about the maypole, celebrating the Beltane Sabbath. It was a much-needed peace in a time when political wars were ripping Scotland apart and creating tension and unrest in the Highlanders. She wasn't really much of a lady, but she was a lady. She was of the merchant class, wearing a simple Robin-egg Empire gown and tight long ringlets in the back. Carefully styled and simple and inexpensive shoes, as well as a hand-me-down shawl about her arms in case the breeze brought too much of a chill. She could smell the fires beginning to burn. Dusk was falling, and it would be time to dance between the bonfires as the ancients before them would drive livestock betwixt them to protect them from mischievous fairies. Clementine by no means was a superstitious person of that manner, but it was a fun tradition. Would it protect her? Perhaps, perhaps not. She reached into a small bag she had brought with her and began to toss breadcrumbs before her, tempting birds to descend from their lofty perches to her feet to dine. Her eyes rose for only a moment, but even that was enough to catch the sight of the most lordly-looking man she had ever seen. He was strangely familiar, but so vaguely. It was as if they had only an illogical sense of déjà vu about them. He was very tall and slender, looking mannerly, with a long, slender face and immaculately kept long hair, tied in the back with a black ribbon. An absolute Beau Brummel, he wore a long tailcoat above a waistcoat, a silver chain vanishing within a pocket. She could only imagine the extravagant pocket watch a man so well-dressed and so clean-looking could be hiding. Under still that was a very breathable cavalier shirt with a lace jabot, and a set of cuffs made to match peeking from his sleeves. His cream-colored pants seemed to possessively hold onto his long and slender, yet tempting legs. She could only blush and catch her breath in her throat as his form would flitter before her, as he would move so fluidly to dodge other park-goers. He wore on his head a black top hat, on his feet the finest of Wellington boots, and he walked with a very elaborate walking cane. She almost wondered if the diamond atop was real, or an imitation made for show. He certainly looked as if he could afford such frivolities. Perhaps her curiosity had pulled her from reality, for the next moment he was upon her and gave her a gentlemanly bow, tipping his top hat in his white gloves. A lady be unescorted at an event such as this? Why, dear lass, would you wish to be a wallflower? Wallflower? Oh, the nerve of that man! She didn't care how beautiful he was, and goodness was he ever, but to speak down on her so. Perhaps that's how the nobility talked to merchants, but she was a person, too. Perhaps he sensed her distress. He smiled sweetly. I'm no better, you know. All these lovely ladies both here and absent, and I come alone. Perhaps that makes me a wandering weed. Weeds kill lovely wallflowers, she replied with such wit that it brightened his pale face. Ooh, my, how your tongue cuts like a thorn, wallflower. Perhaps you are a rose, a budding rose, for you are still so drab and not yet in your glory. She had to bite her tongue, but it didn't help much. How dare you? He merely chuckled. Allow me to escort you betwixt the bonfires, my dear Rose. My name is Clementine McVeigh, she spat, looking away from him and turning up her nose. I will go nowhere until you show some manners and introduce yourself to me, weed. He smiled brightly yet again and took her hand, kissing her knuckles beneath her off-white stained gloves. Forgive me, my dear lady. I am Lord Gavin McIntyre. Lord of, may I ask? He turned, pointing to the towers peeking over the trees. I am the lord of the castle beyond these trees, and over the hillside. The castle has been in my family for as long as I can remember, and further back. Impressive, she said, only half-heartedly. And what doth a noble man like yourself want from a simple little peasant girl like myself? A weed with a flower? Oh, you have such harsh words, Gavin chuckled. I only wish your company. I am trying to be a gentleman. I suppose I cannot be angry, though. An uneducated woman like yourself would know so little of the world of manners. Clementine shot to her feet, slapping the stranger across his face. How dare you? I'm no common uneducated scum. For your information, I am quite well learned in reading and writing, the arts and literature. And let me tell you, I appreciate it more than your pompous nobility. It may have been so freely provided for you, but I had no one to teach me. It was my own hard work and dedication that made my mind strong enough to rival that of ladyships. Gavin rubbed his cheek, stunned she could be so brash. Then, to her surprise, he smiled again. You do sound like a noble lady. He knelt down on the cobblestone walkway as a lowly peasant before royalty. This shocked her, and she blushed deeply. What are you doing? It seems my power and grace was not enough to tame your fire and grace me with your beautiful company. In fact, it seems to have offended you. Perhaps then you would prefer someone who would be of a lower level of pride than yourself. Oh, get up, your lordship, she sighed, feeling embarrassed. Do you always carry on so strangely? Do you always carry on so boldly? He asked, getting to his feet again. Another blush crossed her face before both of them had to laugh. Oh dear, I suppose I must have come off as quite a sight. Oh, I suppose I can be pompous and intimidating. Intimidating? She turned up her nose and offered him a dainty hand. You're nothing but a flashy peacock, sir. He took her hand with a look of faux distress in his face. You're so cruel, my lady. Let us rid each other of such red fay. Another laugh from the both of them before they casually stepped towards the fires, which were now burning wildly on their pyres, awaiting young couples to dance between them and start anew.